Hi friends, today I wanted to discuss about the NEET 2023 question paper. So what I am discussing here is the botany part of the questions I'll be discussing initially. So NEET 2022 question paper, so it was voluminous because they had a lot of negative option questions. So for most of the students, it took time reading the question and then answering it. So usually the students used to save time in solving the biology questions and use it for physics and chemistry, but that did not happen last year. So the paper, since they had more of negative selection questions, so almost all the options had to be read. It would take minimum 30 to 45 seconds to read before you solve it. Otherwise there were assertion and reason question. One diagram oriented question was there. Apart from that, the paper was moderate and it was not too difficult. Anyway, let us begin with the first question of 2022. This is the version is R6 version, which I am going to discuss about. Which of the following is not observed during apoplastic pathway? You know that apoplastic pathway is non-living components it passes through. So apoplast is continuous and does not provide any barrier to water movement. This statement is correct. So movement of water occurs through intercellular spaces and wall of the cells. The statement is also correct. The movement does not involve crossing of cell membrane. This is also correct because only in Symplast you can notice the crossing of cell membrane. The movement is aided by cytoplasmic streaming. This is the wrong statement. So the apoplastic movement is not aided by cytoplasmic streaming. Rather, Symplast movement is aided by it. So the incorrect statement here is the movement is aided by cytoplasmic streaming. The second question that we have is the device which can remove particulate matter present in the exhaust from a thermal power plant is, so is it catalytic converter, STP, incinerator, electrostatic precipitator? So thermal power plant it is, not in case of vehicle. Catalytic converter is found in case of vehicles. So the right answer is electrostatic precipitator. So which one of the following never occurs during mitotic cell division? You can see that again it is a negative selection question. So coiling and condensation of the chromatids, spindle fibers attached to kinetochore of chromosomes, movement of centrioles towards opposite poles, pairing of homologous chromosomes. So the incorrect statement here is pairing of homologous chromosomes because it takes place during meiotic cell division and not during mitotic cell division. So the next question is hydrocolloid carrageen is obtained from Phaeophyce only, Chlorophyce and Phaeophyce, Phaeophyce and Rhodophyce only. At least two or three NEET examination they have asked this question. I always ask my students to remember it as red car, red algae carrageen. So the answer for this is Rhodophyce only. The next question is read the following statement about the vascular bundles and we have to choose the correct answer from the option given below. So what are the statement? This is plant anatomy question. In roots, xylem and phloem in a vascular bundle are arranged in an alternate manner along the different radii. So that is correct point of it. Conjoined closed vascular bundles do not possess KMBM. In open vascular bundles, KMBM is present between xylem and phloem. So B and C statement, A, B, C are correct. Then D, the vascular bundles of dicotyledonous stems possess endark protoxylem. So the vascular bundles of dicotyledonous stem, yes, D is also correct option. In monocotyledonous roots, usually there are more than 6 xylem bundles present. So again, the option is correct because it is polyarch condition. So all the options are correct, A, B, C, D, E. But in the answer option, they have given A, C, D and E, A, B and D only, B, C, D and E only, A, B, C and D only. So here the question, the answer key is wrong. So the answer, none of these are applicable. All the options are correct. So A, B, C, D and E. So students who had attempted this question would have probably got the grace marks since it is the option is not given in the answer key part of it. So DNA polymerase polymorphism forms the basis of translation, genetic mapping, DNA fingerprinting, both genetic mapping and DNA fingerprinting. So it is both genetic mapping and DNA fingerprinting is the correct answer. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as assertion and the other is labeled as reason. So we have to find if the statements are correct. Polymerase chain reaction is used in DNA amplification. Reason, the ampicillin resistant gene is used as a selectable marker to check transformation. So both the statements are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation for assertion. So both A and R are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. So they are two independent statements and they are not, R is not the reason for A. So the third option is correct here. The appearance of recombination nodules on homologous chromosomes during meiosis characterizes sites at which crossing over occurs. It is not characterizing terminalization, synaptonemal complex, bivalent, but it characterizes the sites at which crossing over between the non-sister chromatids takes place. The next question is from first year part of it. The flowers are zygomorphic in mustard, gulmohar, cassia, datura, chili. So they have given these options. So the answer for this are B, C only. So B is going to be the gulmohar, C is cassia. So B and C, apart from the papillonaceous corolla, they are all having this zygomorphic. That is, you can divide the flower into two equal halves in only one plane. So B and C only is the correct answer. Production of cucumber has increased manifold in recent years. Application of which of the following phytohormones has resulted in the increased yield, as the hormone is known to produce female flowers in the plants. So this is one of the important application of the gaseous hormone ethylene. So the right answer is ethylene. So cytokinin, abscisic acid, gibberellins and ethylene they have given. The right option is ethylene. So since more female flowers are produced, the yield of cucumber increases. The next question is, which one of the following statement is not true regarding gel electrophoresis? Again, you find a negative selection question. So bright orange colored bands of DNA can be observed in the gel when exposed to UV light. That is correct. The process of extraction of separated DNA strands from gel is called elution. That is also correct definition. Correct statement. The separated DNA fragments are stained by using ethidium bromide. That is also correct option. The presence of chromogenic substrate gives blue colored DNA bands on the gel. So this is involved in the chromogenic substrate in the transformation of the transformants to identify transformants and non-transformants in biotechnology. So this part of it is a wrong statement. The presence of chromogenic substrate gives blue colored DNA band on the gel. That is an incorrect statement. In old trees, the greater part of secondary xylem is dark brown and resistant to insect attack due to secretion of secondary metabolites. So older, greater part of secondary xylem, that is, they are talking about heartwood or duramen. Secretion of secondary metabolites and their deposition in the lumen of vessels. Deposition of organic compounds like tannins and resins in the central layers of stem. Deposition of suberin and aromatic substances in the outer layer of stem, and deposition of tannins, gums, resins and aromatic substances in the peripheral layers. Presence of parenchyma cells, functionally active xylem elements and essential oils. Choose the correct answer from the options given below. So if you see this question also, there are two statements which are correct. So they are A and B statements are correct statement. So secondary of secretion of secondary metabolites and deposition of organic compounds like tannins and resins in the central layer of stem. So the second option, A and B only, is the right answer. So again, this is a voluminous question. So it is not a easy. You have to read all the statements and then analyze it. So it takes nearly 1 minute for it. Which of the following is incorrectly matched? Volvox starch, so that is the reserve food material in green algae, Ectocarpus fucoxanthin, Eulothrix mannitol, Porphyra floridian starch. Eulothrix mannitol is incorrectly matched. It is an incorrect statement. So one more incorrect statement question. So which one of the following plants does not show plasticity? Is it maize, cotton, coriander, buttercup? So the plasticity in plants, so flexibility in plants is not seen in maize. So the heterophily and other things, they are all not seen in maize. So maize is the answer. Read the following statements and choose the set of correct statements. So here, it is again a voluminous question. You have to read all the statements and analyze the statements and identify the correct statements. Euchromatin is loosely packed chromatin. Heterochromatin is transcriptionally active. Histone octamer is wrapped by negatively charged DNA nucleosome. Histones are rich in lysine and arginine. A typical nucleosome contains 400 base pairs of DNA helix. So we have to choose the correct answers from this 5 statements. So the answer is A, C and D only. So the correct statements are euchromatin is loosely packed chromatin. Histone octamer is wrapped by negatively charged DNA nucleosome. A, C and D only. So histones are rich in lysine and arginine. So A, C, D only is the correct option. Third one is the correct option. Which one of the following produces nitrogen fixing nodules on the roots of Alnus? It is Frankia. So it's a non-leguminous plant. So the nitrogen fixing nodules on the roots of this Alnus non-leguminous plant is Frankia. Identify the incorrect statement related to pollination. Moth and butterflies are the most dominant pollinating agents among insects. Pollination by water is quite rare in flowering plants. Pollination by wind is more common amongst abiotic pollination. Flowers produce foul odor to attract flies and beetles to get pollinated. So here we have again an incorrect statement we have to find from this uh, following statements. So you can notice that moth and butterflies are the most dominant pollinating agents among insects is wrong. It is the honeybees which are the most dominant pollinating agents, whereas the remaining statements are all correct. So the incorrect statement is moth and butterflies are the most dominating pollinating agents among insects. That is the incorrect statement. Which of the following is not a method of ex situ conservation? That is outside the lab in natural condition. It is not in situ within the lab. So ex situ. So which of the following is not a method of ex situ conservation? So the ex situ, it is outside the natural conditions. So cryopreservation is an ex situ conservation. In vitro fertilization is ex situ conservation. Micropropagation is also within the artificial conditions. So that is what ex situ implies. So national park is a natural condition. So it is not a method of ex situ conservation. The answer is national park. Again, this is an incorrect statement. Which of the following is not true regarding the release of energy during ATP synthesis through chemiosmosis? It involves, so again this is a voluminous question, reduction of NADP to NADPH2 on the stroma side of the membrane, breakdown of proton gradient. So you have to find the incorrect statement. Breakdown of electron gradient, movement of protons across the membrane to the stroma. So the breakdown of electron gradient doesn't happen. Proton gradient breakdown happens. So the third one is the incorrect statement. Which of the following statements cannot be connected to predation? This is organism and population chapter. Cannot be connected to predation. It is necessitated. See, again it is an incorrect statement question. So many of the students last year, they were informing me that so it was voluminous because they took time for them to read, analyze and then answer. So they had to take and utilize the 90 minutes of biology, and they were not able to save time and use it for other subjects. So you can see how many questions within botany itself, you can notice the incorrect statement type of questions. So here connected to predation, we have to, statements cannot be connected. So you have to find out the incorrect statement for predation. So it is necessitated by nature to maintain the ecological balance. That is a correct statement. It helps in maintaining species diversity in a community, especially the pisaster example you might have studied. Removal of pisaster starfish resulted in disappearance of 10 invertebrates. So even this is a correct statement. Third one, it might lead to extinction of a species. That is also correct. Both the interacting species are negatively impacted. This is a wrong statement. The predator is positively impacted, the prey is negatively impacted. Both the interacting species are negatively impacted only in competition. So next question is a statement type of question. This is from sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Cleistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous. Statement 2, cleistogamous is disadvantageous as there is no chance of cross pollination. In light of the above statements, choose the correct answers from the options given below. So cleistogamous flowers, they never bloom. So they, both the androecium and gynoecium are close together. The flower never blooms. So as a result of it, so self-pollination is a rule there. Cleistogamy is disadvantageous as there is no chance of cross-pollination. That is also correct. So both the statements 1 and 2 are correct. So second option, both statement 1 and 2 are correct. So statement type of question, assertion and reason, we are seeing plenty of them. So the next question, given below are two statements. The primary carbon dioxide acceptor in C4 plants is phosphoenol pyruvate and is found in mesophyll cells. Statement 2, the mesophyll cells of C4 plants lack Rubisco enzyme. So both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct. So the answer is both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct. The next question is identify the correct set of statements. So again, this is a voluminous question. So you can see that the trend has been last year to provide voluminous questions where the students are forced to read all the options and they require 1 minute or more to answer them. So the questions were easy, but reading the question is voluminous. The leaflets are modified into, we have to identify correct set of statements. Leaflets are modified into pointed, hard, thorns in citrus and bougainvillea. This is not a correct statement. A is wrong statement. So the thorns are modified from axillary buds. Axillary buds form slender and spirally coiled tendrils in cucumber and pumpkin. That is a correct answer. Stem is flattened and fleshy in opentia and modified to perform the function of leaves. That is also correct answer. Rhizophora shows vertically upward growing roots that help to get oxygen for respiration. That is also correct option. So B, C, D and E are all correct options. Subaerially growing stems in grasses and strawberry, they help in vegetative propagation. This is also correct option. So the only when the older parts they die, the younger parts of the subaerially growing one, they are going to remain. So B, C, D and E only. Option 4 is the correct option. The gaseous plant growth regulator is used in plants too. So gaseous plant growth regulator. So they are talking about ethylene. Kill dicotyledonous weeds in the fields. That is a wrong option. It is done by 2,4-D, which is a dicot weedicide. Speed up the malting process. Gibberellin does that. Promote root growth and root hair formation to increase the absorption surface. That is seen in case of ethylene, the gaseous hormone. Help overcome apical dominance. That is a wrong option because this is an attribute of auxins. So third option is the correct one for ethylene. So promote root growth and root hair formation to increase the absorption surface. Next question is from taxonomy. Which of the following plants shows vexillary estivation diadelphous stamens? It is from Fabaceae. So you just have to identify the member of Fabaceae. Solanum nigrum, Colchicum autumnale. Solanum nigrum is Solanaceae, Colchicum autumnale is the Liliaceae. Pisum sativum is Fabaceae. So Pisum sativum is the correct answer, which has this 9+1 arrangement of stamen and vexillary estivation. So Allium cepa is again belonging to Liliaceae, onion. Okay, the answer for that, the vexillary estivation and diadelphous stamens is Pisum sativum. So the next question is, exotype of sex determination can be found in monkeys, Drosophila, birds, grasshopper. The answer is grasshopper. So insects, some of them, they are haploid. Like even in case of drones, they are haploid. The male honeybees are haploid. Parthenogenetically, they are formed. So fourth option, grasshopper, is the correct one. What amount of energy is released from glucose during lactic acid fermentation? So there will be only 2 ATPs that is released. So it is less than 7% of energy is released from, because it is partial oxidation of glucose that is happening during lactic acid fermentation. So answer is less than 7%. So given below are two statements. So again, this is you have to read all of them. Decomposition is a process in which the detritus is degraded into simpler substances by microbes. So decomposition is faster. The detritus is rich in lignin and chitin. So second statement is not correct. So let us see the option as statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. What is the net gain of ATP when each molecule of glucose is converted to two molecules of pyruvic acid? They are talking about glycolysis process. See, 4 ATPs are formed, 2 ATPs are utilized. So the net ATP formed will be 2 ATPs. So from one glucose, we get 2 pyruvic acid, 2 ATPs, 2 NADPH2. So the answer for this is 2 ATP. So 2 is the correct option. Fourth option is correct. So minerals ions, the chapter, it is from 130th. So we have to match the column 1 to column 2. So this is the first time that we are seeing the match the following question here. So manganese. So I always Mg C. So magnesium, boron is the, some of them are easy to remember. The pollen germination, boron is important. Magnesium, chlorophyll synthesis. So keeping that in mind, we can solve it. So the correct answer is manganese functions in splitting up of water during photosynthesis. ZMN complex we call it as. So water is split during photosynthesis to liberate oxygen and hydrogen ions. Magnesium is activates enzymes of respiration. Boron required for pollen germination. Iron activates the enzyme catalase. Okay, so third one, A4, B3, C2, D1. This is the correct option for the match the following. Habitat loss and fragmentation, over exploitation, alien species invasion, and co-extinction are causes for biodiversity loss. So we call it as quadrates, evil quadrates of biodiversity depletion. 4 evil quadrates, which are habitat loss, fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasion, and co-extinction. So these are all the 4 evil quadrates for biodiversity depletion. So the next question, the process of translation of mRNA to proteins begin as soon as the tRNA is activated and larger subunit of ribosome encounters mRNA. The small subunit of ribosomes encounters mRNA. So this is the right answer. The process of translation of mRNA to protein begins immediately after the smaller subunit of ribosomes, they bind with the mRNA. So second option is the right one. The small subunit of ribosomes encounters mRNA. Girdling experiment was performed by plant physiologists to identify the plant tissue through which the food is flowing. Okay, so food is transported. Third option is the correct one. So the exoskeleton of arthropods is composed of chitin. Even fungi, it is composed of same. So these are the questions from zoology which are also given in between. So given below are two statements. This is from genetics. Mendel studied 7 pairs of contrasting traits in pea plants and proposed the laws of inheritance. 7 characters examined by Mendel in his experiment on pea plants were seed shaped and seed color, flower color, pod shape and color, flower position and stem height. In the light of the above statements, choose the correct answer from the options given below. So both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct option. So the section B, where they have the optional 15 questions will be there, of which 10 has to be answered. So the first section A has 35 questions, all of them has to be answered. So section B, out of 15, 10 questions has to be answered. So which part of the fruit is labeled in the given figure makes it a false fruit? So which part of the fruit labeled? So thalamus is going to make a false fruit. If fruit forms from thalamus, it is called as a false fruit. Addition of more solutes in a given solution will. So it was going to lower the water potential. So purity of water is lost whenever you add more solutes to water. So that is why third one, lower its water potential, is the correct option. So the highest water potential value is 0. That is seen in pure water. So the next question, the anatomy of spring wood or the early wood shows some peculiar features. Identify the correct set of statements about spring wood. It is also called as early wood. That is correct. In spring season, cambium produces xylem elements with narrow vessels. This is wrong. It is lighter in color, correct statement. The spring wood along with annual wood shows alternate concentric rings forming annual ring, that is correct. It has lower density. From these options, the correct answers is so A, C, D and E only. B is incorrect statement, whereas all the A, C, D, E are correct. Which one of the following will accelerate phosphorus cycle? So the breakdown of rocks, weathering of rocks will accelerate phosphorus cycle. That is the correct option because they are found in the rocks, phosphorus. So the entire fleet of buses in Delhi were converted to CNG, compressed natural gas from diesel. In reference to this, which one of the statement is false? It cannot be, so again it is an incorrect statement question. You can see it cannot be adulterated like diesel. CNG burns more efficiently than diesel. The same diesel engine is used in CNG buses, making the cost of conversion low. It is cheaper than diesel. So the incorrect statement is the same diesel engine is used in CNG buses, making the cost of conversion low. So that is the incorrect statement. Whereas the remaining are all correct statements. So there has to be a different engine for CNG. What is the role of large bundle sheath cells found around the vascular bundles in C4 plants? So they are going to protect the vascular tissue from high light intensity, to protect the site for photorespiratory pathway, to increase the number of chloroplasts for the operation of Kelvin cycle, to enable the plant to tolerate high temperature. So the large bundle sheath cells around the vascular bundles, they enable the plant to tolerate high temperature. So optimum photosynthesis in C4 plants, if you just recollect, it is from 35 to 45 degrees Celsius. And one of the reason for that is the large bundle sheath cells around the vascular bundles, they help the plant to tolerate high temperature. So that is the correct option. So this we might not have discussed in the regular NCERT syllabus. So this is a little deviation from the syllabus. So we might not have discussed this to enable the plant to tolerate higher temperature. So which one of the following occurs due to the presence of autosome linked dominant trait? So it is not recessive trait, dominant trait. Sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, hemophilia, they are all recessive trait, but myotonic dystrophy is a dominant trait. Autosome linked, it is non-sex linked chromosome, that is dominant trait it is. Read the following statements on lipids and find the correct set of statements. So this is from biomolecules. Lecithin found in the plasma membrane is a glycolipid. Saturated fatty acids possess one or more C double bond C bonds. Gingerly oil has lower melting points, hence remain as oil in winter. Gingerly oil is nothing but sesame oil or eಳ್ಳెన్నె, what we call it as. Lipids are generally insoluble in water but soluble in organic solvents. When fatty acid is esterified with glycerol, monoglycerides are formed. So here we have to choose the correct statements from them. So the answer is C, D and E. A and B are wrong. Lecithin is found in the plasma membrane is wrong. It should be phospholipid. Saturated fatty acids possess one or more C double bond C bonds. That is also wrong. So C, D and E statements are correct. If a genetist uses the blind approach for sequencing the whole genome of an organism, followed by assignment of function to different segments, the methodology adopted by him is called as bioinformatics, sequence annotation, gene mapping, express sequence tags. So it is a blind approach for sequencing the whole genome of an organism. So we call it as sequence annotation. So this is what we have to remember about. The next question: in the following palindromic base sequence of DNA, which one can be cut easily by particular restriction enzyme? Textbook given one is GAA-TTC. So the third option, GAA-TTC, CTT-AAG. So that is easily it can be cut. So that is the right answer because it's a palindromic base sequence. Match the plants with the kind of life cycle it exhibits. So Spirogyra, what type of life cycle it has? So here it is aplontic, diplontic life cycle. All those are there. So we have to go for it. So Cycas represents diplontic life cycle. Funaria belongs to bryophytes, so they represent haplodiplontic. Fern also is represents haplodiplontic. So fern, they will be having the both the sporophyte and gametophyte independent. So keeping these points in mind, we have to solve it. So the answer is Spirogyra, dominant haploid free living gametophyte. So Spirogyra, it's a algae. Fern, so the second option is third one, fern, dominant diploid sporophyte alternating with reduced gametophyte called prothallus, heart-shaped structure called as prothallus. Both sporophyte and gametophyte are independent. So third one option is correct for fern. Funaria, so they have this dominant haploidy leafy gametophyte with partially dependent multicellular sporophyte. Cycas is dominant haploid free, so dominant diploid sporophyte, vascular plant with highly reduced male or female gametophyte. Because male gametophyte is reduced as pollen grain, female gametophyte is highly reduced. So dominant diploid sporophyte, vascular